Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to work with you on our first attendance activity, which is going to be review for web page using HTML and CSS. And it'll be familiar to quite a few folks because it's probably the final exam you saw in the last time you took cis295. Now before starting up, and this is going to be a series of videos, I'm here in Blackboard, and of course what you should do your first time in is click on Start Here, First Day, read through the course syllabus, explore your server space, make sure you can still get in. If you can't get in from your 195 class, I want you to contact me right away, and I'll make sure that you have some space set up and things like that. Also, if you can't remember a password or for some reason just not able to get in, let me know so we can get you set up. Okay, and I'm actually a little bit under the weather right now, so I'll probably be pausing a lot so I can cough and drink tea as we go along. So don't be put off if you hear a lot of pausing mid-sentence and stuff like that. Okay, now part of the other thing you're working on the very first day of class, which is Monday, is you're going to go to the Topics and Activities area to look for the attendance activities. Okay, so I'm going to jump over there, Topics and Activities. And these are the activities we'll be working on throughout the term. You can explore, we'll explore these more later, but I'll just give you a quick rundown. Our review is where we're going to focus our attention, CSS and layouts, web forms, navigation menus, including cascading menus, responsive web design, mobile-friendly web pages basically, search engine optimization, SEO, usability and user experience, and then we'll finish off. You'll be working on a portfolio and a project site. Okay, so that's our plan of action there. But what I want you to do first, you'll notice this first topic, HTML and CSS, includes your attendance activities. So the first thing you'll be doing this on Monday and Tuesday of the first week. I'm recording this Sunday evening before the term starts up. I want you to jump in here, and there's some resources for you to check out and start exploring and get back into coding. For some people, you've only taken about a week or so off. Others have taken several months off. So this could be a pretty overwhelming task, or seemingly overwhelming. I think everybody has the capability to do it though. One of the first things you can do is this review quiz, and you can do this quiz multiple times, so I don't want you to worry about failing it or anything like that. So after you study the syllabus, go through and take this quiz and see how much you remember. These are old questions from a previous class, a 195 class, so there's nothing on here that you shouldn't know, but there could be some things that you're a little bit rusty on. So check that out, try it, and if you don't get 90%, pause for a bit, study up a little bit, and take it again. What I want to focus on is on attendance 2. Excuse me. So what you're doing here is you're downloading this zip file, and you're going to be creating a website. A website many of you have probably done before, and many of you have done recently. So I want you to download this, and I've already done this right before I turned on the recorder. I've downloaded this zip file, and I've put it into my new 295 public HTML folder. This is where I'm going to be putting web pages that I create for class. And I haven't published anything, of course. And I'll go into, and I created a review folder, and I unzipped all of these files in here. Ultimately, we're going to make a web page that looks pretty much like this. There might be a few differences here and there, but this is the basic thing that we're going to try to create. We want to make a good facsimile of this. So this is our goal. One of the other things you have in here is the I thought I gave you the directions. Oh, yeah, so there's the PDF directions from the actual test. These are going to load up. So we've got some information in there for you. I'm going to pretty much keep that closed. I think I'm just going to go by the picture. And you've got, of course, a picture to utilize, logo. There's a couple little sample chunks of code for some complicated things that we didn't study in class. Yeah, so a few things to work on. But this is the page we want to make. Now to start off, we can look at it this way. where there's no images or text or any content like that. And this is how I would like you to look at any web page project you're about to start. Take away all of the clutter, all of the text, all of the images, and just put it into some basic rectangle shapes. Hopefully that'll simplify it for you. And in fact, I want to simplify this even more too. Instead of thinking of this, I know these pauses are getting annoying. It's going to take a long time for me to get through these videos. Okay, so instead of thinking of this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, instead of thinking of this as 9 boxes, what if you thought of it as one big box? And then you thought of it as 3 boxes, one across the top, a big one here in the middle, and this gray one here at the bottom. 3 boxes. And I know you can do that. This is a 1 column, 3 boxes, 3 divs in a row. You can do that. And once you do that, can you then make a simple 2-column layout with 1 big box on the left and a narrower box on the right? I know you can do a 2-column layout. And then this big box on the left, can you get 3 boxes side by side? I know you can because you've done it before. And then there's 3 more boxes side by side. So whenever you're faced with what seems like a complicated layout, I want you to break it down into small units. Do that small unit and then take your next step and add a little bit more detail to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a web page with 1 big box. That's going to be my container. I'm going to move this picture off to the side so I can see it, and I'll keep bringing it back into the recorder view. And I want to get to work. So what I will do here is I'm going to open up my editor. What editor am I going to use today? Let's see, what do we got down here? It's Visual Studio Code. Do I not have Atom installed on my home computer? Maybe I don't. I've been using Atom a little bit more lately at work, but I'm going to use VS Code here today. And I'm going to close a few things, start from a clean slate, give myself a new file. Oops, don't want to zoom in that much. Okay, close that. And let me go ahead and take a second to save this file. So I'm going to be saving it. Let's see, I'm going into my Google Drive, COCC Docs, 295, Review, and I'm just going to call this gearfix.html. Okay, now many of you of course have these files saved somewhere, and I don't want you to open them back up and just edit them and turn this in. I want you to, even though this is not a big deal assignment, it's an attendance activity, you know, so I want you to push yourself to try to recreate it. Even if you know those files exist, even if you can easily find those files, I want you to start from a clean slate, like I'm starting from a clean slate. I might show you a more efficient way of creating this page. Certainly I'll probably show you a different way because there are several ways that people can do it. And then you can try to work ahead. If you think it's going to be easy for you, then just work a little bit ahead of me and make this page. See if you can, just by looking at a picture, create this layout. That's going to be a good sign of your ability right there. So I'm going to start from a clean slate. Move this off to the side. And I'm going to go and give myself a doc type definition. An HTML tag with language attribute. Within that, I'm going to give myself the head section with a meta car set. Oops, that should be an 8. And a title. And I am going to use an external style sheet, so I'm going to do a link rel. Okay, now I haven't made the CSS file, and I'm not going to be using a subfolder for this particular style sheet. So my CSS file is going to be saved in the same folder as my HTML file. After the head section of my page, I'm going to have the body of my page. And that'll be it for that. So there's my basic HTML file. Now I don't have a couple things on here. I don't have my meta viewport, which I do want us to all get in the habit of using. It's good enough to do, so let's put it in there. Meta. Okay, so there's our meta viewport, and good form of habit, I guess. Go and put my name in there. Okay, so now I'm ready to start working on this basic web page. Let me go ahead and create my opening style sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file, save as. I'm saving this in the same location, my review folder. Okay, so there's my CSS file. On my CSS file, I'm going to start off with a reset rule. Now, if you don't recall, the reset rule is a very handy tool. It'll set all the default margins and padding to 0, basically. It puts all the browsers on an equal playing field, so it gives us better control about how things are going to look on different browsers. And I always like to do something right away so I can see that everything's working. I'll do a font family Verdana and a background color of pink. Zoom in a little bit on that. So if my HTML file is properly connected to my CSS file, I should have this pink background showing up. So if I go and look at my files, which are here, and there's my HTML that I'm creating, open it up. My default browser on here is my Chrome browser. Pink page, everything's working. Super. Okay, so that was a short-term solution there, so I'm just going to change this out to hashtag, do caps, shade of white. Excuse me. Do I have the right number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video here in just a second and pick it up in a part 2 once we all get started. But I would like to start creating some of these key parts, and I said I'm going to go simple and create one box. Just one box on there. Okay, so I drug the wrong interface over. So I'm going to do a div id equals container. This is going to be my parent container. There we go. Got that taken care of. And on my CSS file, since I'm using an ID element for that div, I'm going to use hashtag container. And what I'm going to do on here is simply I'm going to set the width of this because I don't want it to be 100% wide. I'm going to set this to be, I don't know, 1,000 pixels wide. And I'm going to set margins to be 10 pixels top and bottom, auto margin left and right. Auto margin left and right is how I'm going to center horizontally a block element. So container div is a block element. Its width is narrower than the body of the page. Its margin left and right is set to auto. It's going to center it. Now that's not enough though. If I were to look at this on my browser, I'm not going to see anything. Of course I got the white background now. Because my container is empty, it's collapsed on itself. So I need to give it some height. I'll put it up here. I'm going to do a min height. I'm going to set the min height to be about 700 pixels. So now it's got some height. It's got width and it's got height. I still can't see it though because it doesn't have a border. It doesn't have a background color. There's my picture. It doesn't really have a background color. I'm going to put a temporary border on there. Border, 2 pixels thick. Solid. Red. Now there's enough for us to see this container. It's got a red border, it's got width, and it's got height, and it should be centered horizontally on the page. Save that CSS, refresh the page, and there's that container. Easy to see with that bright red border. If I didn't have that border, you would not know if you were successful or not. You would be. But borders really do help us visualize what's going on. So do background colors. If this had a background color, we could visualize our success. So there we go. There is our container of one box. How are we going to split this up into 3 boxes? One across the top, big one here in the middle, medium-sized one down here at the bottom. Let's pick that up in the next video. Work ahead of me if you know where you're going with this.